Hey y'all, this is Demia Avery of the Demia Avery Show. And listen, we have some breaking news, and unfortunately, it's another SA lawsuit. What is going on? But this really involves something worse. So, of course, he's innocent until proven guilty. But I'm just going to read to you what's out there right now. And it is in the courts, the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York. So if you want to look it up, it is there. So I'm going to say a couple of code words that I can't say on YouTube or TikTok, or they'll take the video down. So you'll understand when I substitute words. So the headline reads, Fat Joe is sued for $20 million by former hype man in explosive suit, alleges rapper engaged in sex acts with young people and coerced him into more than 4,000 sexual acts to maintain his standing. Fat Joe's former hype man Terrence T.A. Dixon has filed an explosive lawsuit in federal court against the rapper on Thursday. Dixon is alleging that his former boss, whose real name is Joseph Antonio Cartagena, engaged in coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, sexual manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion. Dixon adds that the hip hop star behind such chart toppers as What's Love got rich and famous while he and his associates deliberately suppressed, silenced, and erased Dixon's substantial creative, artistic, and commercial contributions, which were foundational to Fat Joe's professional success and personal brand. He is seeking up to $20 million in damages. Now, the complaint filed in the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, contains so many disturbing claims about Fat Joe's alleged sexual relations with women, including minors, if you understand what I'm saying, that it contains a trigger warning on the first page of the 157-page document. For 16 years, Dixon served as Fat Joe's so-called hype man, a common figure in hip-hop who supports the artist by energizing the crowd and enhancing the overall performance. He also contributed as a lyricist and background vocalist on such hits as Congratulations, Ice Creams, and Money Over Itches. You know what I'm saying? According to the complaint, he had an unrivaled vantage point to observe the rapper's offstage lifestyle and behavior. Dixon is represented by Tyrone Blackburn, who is also the lead counsel in a high-profile case against Sean Diddy Combs. In February 2024, Blackburn filed a lawsuit on behalf of Diddy's accuser, Lil Rodney, alleging sexual assault, sexual harassment, and failure to pay his underlying. 1 month later, Department of Homeland Security agents conducted raids at Combs' mansion in Los Angeles and Miami. Goes on to say Dixon states in the complaint that Fat Joe forced him into humiliating situations, including sex acts performed under duress and surveillance, accompanied by threats of abandonment in foreign countries if he refused to comply. By his own estimation, Dixon states in the suit that he was coerced into more than 4,000 sexual acts to maintain his standing within the enterprise. Most shockingly, the suit claims that Dixon personally witnessed Fat Joe engage in sexual relations with children who were 15 and 16 years old, and lists three such Jane Does, including a 16-year-old Dominican girl in New York, who, in exchange for cash, clothing, and payment of her cell phone bill, would perform moral sex and other sexual acts on the rapper. Minor Doe 2 is a Caucasian female and not a United States citizen, began having sexual relationships with Minor 2 when she was 15 after a concert overseas. Defendant flew Minor Doe 2 to New York City and Miami, Florida on multiple occasions. Due to Minor 2's body being adolescent and not fully formed, defendant paid for her to get a Brazilian butt lift. Minor 2 eventually left defendant and is now married to a professional athlete, the complaint says. Minor Doe 3 is a Latina female who met the defendant when she was 15 years old, turning 16. According to Dixon, defendant was in love with minor Doe 3. He had contemplated leaving his wife. The defendant paid all minor Doe 3's bill and even took her overseas to his tour stops. He brought her to Florida and would put her up in a condo he rented a few blocks from his house with his wife, the lawsuit says. In a recorded conversation, minor Doe 3 and her 15-year-old cousin described in detail to plaintiff how inappropriate it was for a defendant who was in his late 30s at the time to be fawning over children. Defendants in the suit also include Pistol Pete Torres, and Richard Rich Player Jospetri, I think that's how you say his name, who the complaint refers to as key associates in Fat Joe's criminal enterprise, asserting civil claims for violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act and the Racketeer Influence and Corruption Organizations Act, as well as related violations under New York and Florida law, including unjust enrichment, quantum meruit, I'm not sure how to say that, fraudulent concealment, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and money laundering. The suit additionally names Jay-Z's Roc Nation, claiming that the company, which represents Fat Joe, knowingly participated in concealing, transferring, and manipulating Dixon's authorship rights and royalty interests and sought to intimidate, harass, and obstruct the hype man's legitimate claims against Fat Joe. According to the lawsuit, the defendants engaged in deliberate tax fraud schemes in effort to conceal their extensive wage theft, artificially inflate Dixon's tax liabilities, expose him to unwarranted tax audits and penalties, and systematically obscure the exploited labor. The complaint cites a whistleblower accountant who came forward last year, as well as recorded phone calls that help paint the picture of the alleged misdeeds. The move comes after Fat Joe sued Dixon in April for slandering him on social media by claiming that the Bronx-born rapper, who enjoys high-level potential connections, flew a 16-year-old girl across state lines for Smex. That suit also names Dixon's lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, claiming the pair tried to shake him down for a settlement. This is the right way to fight, Joe, through the system. You can't fight for no other way, Dixon tells Variety magazine in an exclusive interview. Joe thinks he's a god. Joe thinks he's untouchable. Dixon's suit against Fat Joe goes much further than his social media posts and states that he endured a wide spectrum of sexual coercion, psychological control, force in exhibitionism, and surveillance-based humiliation, including being compelled to perform Smex acts under observation, being filmed, or directed by Fat Joe in the presence of others. Tactics designed to control plaintiff's body, erode his anatomy, and ensure silence. It also adds the Smex-based abuses were not private, incidental, or isolated. They were integral to the enterprise's culture of dominance and humiliation enforced by defendants' associates such as Pistol Pete, JB, and others, and sustained across numerous tour locations including Miami, North Carolina, Germany, Spain, and Wisconsin. Fat Joe is represented by celebrity criminal attorney Joe Tacopina, who has defended everyone from A$AP Rocky and Donald Trump in high-profile cases. We're almost over, guys. In Thursday's complaint, Dixon claims that the activity took place on Market America's corporate yacht and in its mansion's properties, where Fat Joe orchestrated repeated orgies, you know what I'm saying, involving plaintiff, female dancers, and youngers. Defendant used the lawsuit as that Fat Joe used his status as a hip-hop star to compel Dixon and others into degrading sexual performances, often while Fat Joe watched, recorded, or directed the encounters. These incidents occurred under conditions that included the presence of corporate security staff, surveillance cameras, and defendants' management entourage, yet no intervention occurred, supporting the inference that these acts were facilitated by and covered up by the broader enterprise and its affiliates. The complaint continues. Dixon did not willingly consent to participate in these acts. Instead, plaintiffs submitted solely out of fear of immediate retaliation, which defendant repeatedly demonstrated would include financial punishment, professional sabotage, abandonment in foreign countries, or physical harm. The suit claims that Fat Joe also issued veiled um, unalive threats and witness intimidation via direct message such as, "You love your family, right? Fall back in 48 hours and we'll let you live." Though Fat Joe hobnobbed with some of the biggest names in politics, including then Vice President Kamala Harris, there was at least one brush with scandal back in 2010. He and members of his entourage were detained and questioned after a University of Wisconsin student reported an alleged sexual assault following a performance at the city's Orpheum Theater. At that time, Fat Joe's attorney called the woman a pretender groupie who was attempting to shake down the rapper for money. So that's what we have right now, guys. This sounds a lot similar to what's going on now to Diddy's case. That's just what I think. But again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But this is a lot. So we'll see how this all plays out. All right, guys. Bye bye.